Hey, what's up? Welcome to the video. If it's your first time here, I'm Alex and I do movie reviews, series reviews, trailer reactions, all that. So if that's your jam, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss anything. And today I finally get a chance to review one of my most anticipated movies of the year because I'm a geek, Thor: Love and Thunder. While Thor is trying to come to terms with who he is as a god, he encounters Gorr, the God Butcher, a being who seeks to wipe out all the gods in the universe. After Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness disappointed me, I was starting to worry that the MCU was starting to go downhill in quality, but the Thor: Love and Thunder trailer looked amazing to me, so that worry faded away quickly. But then I got into the theater and worry came right back, knocking on my door. The first half of this movie, I was like, oh dear God, what is happening right now? Because this was way too silly. You know how in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, how they were so dark that they just ended up being bland and boring? Well, Thor: Love and Thunder was on the opposite end of that spectrum, being so silly and lighthearted that I don't take anything seriously. The dialogue was ridiculous, the action was comedic, the overall tone was a parody of a superhero film. It was so much of it just dumped into the story that I was completely overwhelmed by it. I like a good joke here and there, but the comedy shouldn't be the meat and potatoes of this movie. Like, that alone made me feel very uncomfortable. I especially disliked how this movie averted, big word of the day, Thor's character arc. In Ragnarok, we see new life brought into the character, and in Infinity War and Endgame, we see Thor go through all this trauma and growth. It was beautiful to see. But in this movie, he just reverts to God knows what this is. He's full of himself, he's reckless, he's extremely dim-witted. He totally regressed as a character. It reminded me of how Disney ruined Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Because in the beginning, he's silly, but he's still skillful and actually quite strategic, and I saw him as this cool character. But by the fourth and fifth movie, he's just the comic relief in his own movie, and I didn't see him as a hero anymore. That's how I felt about Thor in this movie, and that makes me sad because Thor is such a cool character. I wanted the Thor from the end of Endgame. Like, that's the Thor I wanted to watch a movie about, not whatever this is. Thankfully, the movie pulls itself together by the second half, mainly by backing off the silliness. There's still comedy in the second half, but enough of it's taken away for me to catch my breath and actually connect with the story. At this point in the film, things are revealed that makes the characters realize how big the stakes are, and it successfully pulls me back over to the side of taking this movie seriously. There's this scene between Thor and Jane Foster in the hospital, and they open themselves up to each other in a way that legit brought me to tears. Like, that was my favorite scene in the movie. Like, where was this writing in the first half of the movie? I needed much more of that because Thor: Love and Thunder was great when it took itself seriously. And I have to give a special shout out to Natalie Portman and Christian Bale. These two were my MVPs of the movie. It was great seeing Portman return as Jane Foster, and how she portrays her character's strength and will, like, it's inspiring. Jane Foster was already likable as a character, but to see how she battles through adversity in this film, both literally and figuratively, made me love her even more. And ooh, when she gets Thor's hammer and becomes the mighty Thor, like, I was getting super queen energy. She was a gangster. I loved how she would fight monsters and throw the hammer and it would split off into different pieces, hitting multiple monsters at once. It was crazy. They didn't stand a chance against her. I honestly would have been okay if she was the only Thor in this movie. I would have 100% accepted that. And then my other MVP, Christian Bale as Gorr the God Butcher. He's probably one of my favorite MCU villains now, because Gorr was just terrifying. I know he looks nothing like the comic book appearance, but I was down for this design because it gave me serial killer vibes, which is technically what Gorr is, and Christian Bale is no stranger to playing a serial killer. The way Bale portrays Gorr made my skin crawl, and I mean that in the best way possible. Just the way he looks at people with just hunger in his eyes, like, that's how much he wants to kill. It's a shame that Gorr isn't used more in the movie, but the parts that he is in, I feel completely threatened by him. His presence was that powerful for me. I also thought Gorr's motivation for wanting to kill all the gods was pretty valid. And that's another thing that Christian Bale does remarkably with this character. He shows the vulnerable side of Gorr. He shows the things that haunt him. Gorr lost his daughter to the gods, and when Gorr expresses that pain, I can't help but feel for him. I'm like, my dude, I'm sorry, do you want a hug? I love it when I'm able to somewhat relate to the villains. It makes them feel like real people. And besides for a couple of really nasty looking shots, I thought Thor Love and Thunder was filmed beautifully. I especially loved the color scheme because there was just tons and tons of bright colors popping off the screen. It was like looking at a comic book. And there's this one part where Thor goes to the Shadow Realm. Everything becomes black and white, and even that was eye-catching, especially when some of the colors would come out like Thor's red cape or the blue of his lightning. It was beautiful. Just like seeing Chris Hemsworth naked, this movie's really pretty to look at. At the end of the day, I liked this movie, but the MCU cut it real close. Cause trust me when I say that that first half was disgusting. If it wasn't for the second half of this movie, I would have been huffing and puffing around this room. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was a loss. Thor Love and Thunder, they almost dropped the ball here. When Black Panther 2 comes out in November, it has to be a big win because as of right now, the future of the MCU is not looking very good. With that being said, Thor Love and Thunder is not what I wanted, but I'll take it. Like sugar-free soda. So Thor, Love and Thunder, did you see it? What'd you think about it? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this review and you want to see more, first, click the like and subscribe button, then click right here to see more. Now hit the theme music.